Good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for joining. Okay, yes, so I know. Right. Good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for joining the introductory class for Strategy Factory. So this class is essentially sorry, 1 minute. Zoom meeting. Is essentially the first module of the Strategy Factory workshop. So we do have a Strategy Factory workshop that holds every month in a hotel. In fact, there's one in about 6 days, 5 days rather, right, in a hotel. And so we have a practice where we provide an opportunity to give out the first module of the Strategy Factory for free. So what that means is that if you're one of the 40 people that would make it to the class on Friday and you come to the class, this is the very first module that you would see, right? So this is because we know that some of you will essentially come to class, and that's okay. Some of you will come to class, and that's also okay. But we wanted to just give this as value so that for those that wouldn't come to class, to get some value going forward. For those that will come to class, they get some value and they realize that, okay, this is the first module of 10 modules, and they look forward to coming to class. So my name is Ezekiel Sholisi. I run a consulting firm that means life, investing money, and business made simple. We have a business school where we help entrepreneurs sort of grow their businesses. We've worked with a number of these organizations. I'm a member of the Forbes Coaches Council, and in the last couple of years, 14 years, I would say, we've worked with more than 4,000 businesses. We have 45, not 44 anymore, 45 of our clients that exceed $1 billion a year in revenue. We try to review. We're trying to get to 100, so by 2027. So good. So I always like to start every of our class from this question, because the first thing I feel my responsibility is here is to sort of wake you up. So I ask people, what do you want, right? What do you really want? And the reason why this question is important is because, you see, in life, we start out life sort of wanting what we really want. But as life goes on, people start to downgrade that to what they think they can get, right? So if you think about this, you ask a young chap, maybe 10, 12, even my 8-year-old son, I'm like, what do you really, what kind of car do you want to drive? And, they talk about really nice stuff. A Maserati, Bugatti, something really, really cool, G-Wagon, something cool. And then you give them good advice, that, if you want to get to this level, you want to get to a car, you want to go to school, you want to, get a good job, you want to, all the really nice advice. And then they go to school, they get a good job. And, this guy is maybe 30, 40, he's in his 5th job now, he's earning $2 million a month. He goes online to check how much his Maserati is, or his Bugatti is, $3.6 million. It doesn't hit him until he converts it to Naira. And that's like 4 billion Naira. So he gets a very good idea. He says the purpose of the car is to move it from point A to point B, and the Toyota is not bad, right? And so what we start doing is that we start downgrading our dreams from what we really want to what we think we can get. And the reason why we do that is because there are essentially, we think that life, builds up arithmetically, whereas life compounds, right? So it means that if you do the right thing, life will essentially compound. So what I want to try to do is try to remind some of us of some of the things that we said we want, and then we can then talk about how you can get them. Right? So the first is, how many of us here would like to be financially free? If you want to be financially free, I want you to write free in the comment section. We all sort of know what financial freedom is, the ability to do what you want when you want it, not necessarily have to worry about money, the ability to not have to worry about money another day in your life. So if you want to be free, write free. Abimbola wants to be free, right? Yeah, so, just think about it. Shegun wants to be free, cool. So everybody sort of knows what freedom is, right? Some people want to be free. They want to be able to earn, an unlimited amount of money or an insane amount of money. Some people want to make a lot of money because they want to contribute to society. They want to help people, and giving is good. In fact, giving is amazing. You can't even begin to think about how you feel when you give. So for example, in the year, I have a giving plan, so I try to give incrementally. I know what I'm going to give in certain times of the year, and and just to think about the fact that what I give changes people's lives, that's usually amazing, isn't it? Right. The third is some people want to make a lot of money because they want peace of mind. They're not trying to change the world. They're just trying to, essentially know that whatever happens in the world, they'll be fine. I mean, it's just like thinking about it and say, look, even if fuel gets to 1,000 naira a liter, I want to know that I can pay for fuel at 1,000 naira a liter, right? Some people want to make a lot of money because they want good health. And good health is not cheap. Many of us know good health is not cheap. First you have to see good doctors, then you have to be able to eat good food. Sometimes these foods are not cheap, right? You need to eat fruits, you need to, all that stuff, right? And think about it, you want to be able to be healthy. I was, driving one day and this fitness guy on radio, his name is Olu, he said, or he was saying on radio at the time, that for you to be healthy, you need to keep your food intake between 1,300, so 1,800, sorry, 1,800 to 2,200 calories per day. And I started to laugh in the car because you need to have a shitload of money to be able to calculate calories. How many of you here in this room know the calorie that is inside the food you ate this evening? Does anybody here know the calorie that is inside the food you ate this evening? Right? Most people don't know. Most people just eat because most of us don't have chefs. I imagine that chefs are the ones that help you calculate calories. What most of us here have is cooks. Maybe not even cooks. Maybe like Alasse. Right? Some people want to make a lot of money because they want to build assets. And building assets is important. I mean, think about it, right? If you don't own where you live, somebody makes money off it. If if where you work, build everything, anybody who owns real estate. I mean, I used to have a business partner in Idowu Taylor. Idowu Taylor has this office, it's second Idowu Taylor Architects Place. It's like 11 floors. And as of 2014, each floor had 2 office compartments. So each of the offices was about 15 million naira a year to rent. It's at 2014, probably be more now. So, I was talking to my business partner at the time, and I said, the owner of this building right now, like whoever owns this building right now can afford to die right now, even if he has 11 children, because we don't know what else he has, but we know that he has a building, 11 floors, and then there is 15 million naira a year on rent, and so each of these, children will have about 30 million naira to live on every single year. That's why you hear things like Papa was a very good man. He taught us many things. The truth is that he didn't teach them nothing. He just left them money, right? When you leave your children money, they will understand what you're teaching them, right? Some people want to make a lot of money because they want good quality education. And it's important, whether for yourself, for your children. It's very critical as you grow. In fact, I tell people, it is important that you put your kids in the best possible school, not just because of the education, the quality of education that they'll get. It's also because of the quality of people that they get to be educated with. So I remember I was at the Transcorp Hilton Hotel in Abuja. So, there was this argument that broke up in a small room. And people were arguing about how expensive schools were in Abuja. This was in 2011. And this lady just blotted out, like, it's not the same way. I'll take my daughter to Newi. And usually I don't like to talk about things that don't concern me, but they're about to send somebody to Newi who perhaps is not in the room to defend herself. So what I did was that I asked her, I said, Madam, I'm very sorry for interjecting in your family matter, but please don't send your daughter to Newi. She said, why? Why is it important? It's not the same way. I said, well, because in like 20 years, it would matter who your daughter's classmates were. than it might even matter whether your daughter was brilliant. Right? And she was like, oh, she never thought about it that way. I said, that's the reason why people put their children in the best schools, not just for the teaching. And even though the teaching is good, but as a level at which, you can't get any more better education, but you can get more better connections, right? And lastly, some people want to make a lot of money because they want to retire in style. And retiring in style, in fact, has to be explained. So let me explain it this way. Because I do a number of trainings in some corporate organizations, banks, and all that kind of thing. And I'm talking to them about retirement. They're like, don't worry, the pension fund has that covered. And this is very important. And I teach this because it's important that we all think about this. So imagine that you have a job that allows you to put away that a lot women are rich, have it. Right? They're probably rich, I guess. Right? But I mean, if you had an option, you'd like your daughter to marry a Harvard man. Right? The lady that married, what's the name of that guy? Prince William, I got his name. It's because of the quality of school. Maybe they met in school. If you say she go OAU now, she know for marry the guy. So let's talk about retirement. So imagine you have a job that allows you to put away 600,000 naira every month to your retirement. That allows you to put away 50,000, not 600,000, 50,000 every month to your retirement plan. I mean, most people who have a job would agree that it's a lot of money, right? To be able to put away 650,000 every month to your retirement account. In fact, in the civil service, we're talking 11, 12, level 11, level 12. That would be about 600,000 a year. Now, if you are able to save that kind of money and you get not 4% as most pension funds give you, if you get 10% guaranteed interest and you were able to do that for 20 years, right? And then you were able to get something more. It's called the magic of money, compounding interest. When you put all these three factors together, when this person retires, this person would have about 32.2 million in their retirement account. How many of us would love the opportunity to have 32.2 million in your retirement account, right? Type me, M-I-M-E rather. You'd love the opportunity to have 32.2 million in a retirement account. I mean, when you can't work, you're not strong again, you want to be able to just chill, and you have 32.2 million in a retirement account. How many of us would love that kind of opportunity, right? Just type me if you want that kind of soft life. Guess what? That's amazing, isn't it? Exactly. Now, as amazing as that sounds, there's a flip side to this story, right? And what's the flip side? The flip side is what Kiyosaki says. He says that, there's usually three sides to every story. There's the side that you're told, there's the side you believe, and then there's the truth, right? And how many of us would like to hear the truth? If you like to hear the truth, just type yes. If you like to hear, because the truth is not really nice. It's not really nice. So the truth is that all things being equal, you will have 32.2 million naira in your retirement account. But the question that the pension fund or the guy who you're working with is hoping that you would not ask is, what would 32.2 million naira be worth 20 years from now? And you see, when you ask that question, it opens a whole can of worms, right? Now, to understand what that amount will be, because the truth is that you're being sold tomorrow on today's excitement. It is exciting today to have 32 million. The question is, how exciting would it be in 20 years' time? And to understand that, we need to go back to the past. So let's go back to a year like 1985. Now, if my dad has 3,500, in 1985, he could buy a brand new car. Of course, not a Maserati or a Bugatti or any of those kind of things, right? But a decent car, a 504 Evolution, all that kind of stuff. But brand new, not Tokumbo, not tear rubber. I know that they're putting rubber on top of Tokumbo cars, that brand new. But also in 1985, if you're old enough to know, 1985, 3,005 wasn't back pocket change. It was a lot of money. In fact, it was some staff, some civil servants' annual salary. So it was a lot of money at the time. So if my dad had 3,005, he probably had a really good job in 1985. or he had a great savings culture. He's going to buy a car. His friend says, no, no, no. You buy a car, you could lose it. I mean, you could have an accident tomorrow. The car is not valuable. How about you put that money in a pension fund, or you save every single month for the next 20 years? You save 3,005 every single month, for the next 20 years. Because, at that time, 3,005 is not the kind of money where you go and visit your uncle, give you 3,500 for transport. That wasn't going to happen, right? So every year he decides to save 3,005. He gets the same 10% guaranteed interest. He gets the same 20 years. He gets the same compounding interest. The same factors that created our 32.2 millionaire. When in 20 years, when he, when his money matures and all of that, he will have 224,600. Now, which is a lot of money, by the way. 224,600 is a lot of money coming from 3.5. But the problem is that he would get that money in 2005. Just think about it. 2005, 224,600. Would that buy me a brand new car 2005? No, it wouldn't. Would it buy me a fairly used car? No. It probably would not buy me a useless car. And that's the reason why, I always tell people, anytime I do a training, and I always tell people that, look, saving, even though it's a very good habit, it's a very bad strategy, because you're saving something that is losing value faster than it is gaining numbers. So my advice is usually that you save. It is better to save up for an investment than to save up as an investment. It is better to save up for an investment than save up as an investment. Save your money, buy a land, save your money, start a business, save your money, build something. If the ultimate plan long-term is that we're saving money, you're most likely going to work so hard in the system and realize at the end of your work that you worked really, really hard in a system that also worked as hard against you. So you want to be smarter with that, right? So you figure all that out. The first thing that I always like to say is that if I'm in a room, every room I'm in is filled with entrepreneurs. People say, no, 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 I'm not an entrepreneur, I'm an employee. Okay, an employee is an entrepreneur with one client. A business owner is an entrepreneur with many clients. I tell people that if you're an employee and you don't think you're an entrepreneur, you might realize, and it might be a little too late, but you realize the day you get fired. The day you get fired or you're asked to stop, they'll say a lot of things in that letter. But one of the things that they would say that might be revealing is your services are no longer required. And once you see your services are no longer required, then it strikes you, right? That it's not like they really liked you. Your services were just required, right? So why am I saying that? Because you need to think like an entrepreneur, whether you work in a system or you own the system, right? So if you come to the Strategy Factory, this is the very first module that you would personally experience. Not a different one. This is not a class prepared just for this class. This is the exact first module of the Strategy Factory. Now, because it's a business strategy workshop, I always like that we start a class being able to define what a business is, right? So that it gives us sort of like a foundation and we're able to sort of build up on that. So the first question is, what is a business? So I want to take a few answers. So, I mean, by the way, whatever answer you give cannot be wrong because it's exactly what a business is to you. But can somebody just write in the comment section? Sorry, I'm not going to open the voice because we're recording and we want to get you like really good quality recording. So, what is a business? You cannot be wrong because that's what it is to you. And I mean, ultimately, what I'm really just sharing is my own opinion. And I'm not the richest businessman in the world, so I'm sure my opinion is not even as correct. It's not the best definition in the world, right? So what is a business? I'll take two definitions from the chat box, and then I would share with you the definition that I have here, and we'll take it up from here. What is a business? What is a business to you? Anybody? Give us a second or two to type it. What is a business? What is a business? What is a business? What is a business? Okay, so a business is an activity that solves problems, brings income, and creates employment. That's from Christian Amaji Christian uh, Tamoife. I think a business venture that produces goods and services for profit to the entrepreneur and a fee to the client. Malcolm X. That's a serious matter. Giving value and getting paid for it. Sheldon says a venture that affords you the opportunity to add value to humanity and also get value in exchange. Paulinus says a venture that people gain profit from. Taiwo says a business is a venture that exchange products and or service for the purpose of making profit. Joaze says it's an exchange of value for rewards and profits. Taiwo says business is what keeps you busy with the aim of making an income for financial freedom through value addition. And lastly, Joel says a business set of activity that a set of activity a person involves in to deliver solutions for profit. Amazing definitions. I want to share with you one definition, and it's not my definition. It's a definition that I read this particular book at least once every quarter. I try to read it once every quarter. It's called The Personal MBA. By the way, if you haven't read the book, please look for it. It's an amazing book, right? You're going to need to read it. So Josh Kaufman defines a business as a repeatable process, very, very important, that does these 5 things. A repeatable process that, that creates and delivers something of value. 2, that other people want or need. 3, at a price they are willing to pay. 4, in a way that satisfies the customer's needs and expectations. And of course, 5, so that the business brings in enough profit to make it worthwhile for the owners to continue operation. So we're going to spend the next sort of 20 minutes trying to figure out this definition. And why do I think this definition is important? I think it's important because if we understand this definition, some of us might be able to double down on our business. Some of us might even have to exit the business that we're in because it's sort of like the business is shutting down, right? The industry is shutting down. So the first question really is, it creates and delivers something of value. So the first question we need to ask ourselves is, this business that I am doing, the value that I'm bringing to the market, how valuable is that value itself? Very, very important. How valuable is that value, right? And there are different ways to be able to check whether you're bringing, actual value to the marketplace. Now, one of the ways to be able to check is to ascertain the viability of your ideas or your business, right? And I have 4 of them that I would share with us today. There's like 12, but let's just share 4 of them, right? The first is, this business that I am serving, does it serve a huge expanding market, right? Now, why is this important? Is the market expanding or is the market shrinking, right? So what happens is that a lot of us get into a business at this point when the market is actually already shrinking. But this is the best point that you want to get into a market where it is huge and expanding. A few examples. At some point, it was a beautiful business to start a cyber cafe in this country, right? But right now, how much of a business is it? At some point, it was an amazing business to sell recharge cards, even at massive level. But quite right now, how large is that business? Because a large chunk of those businesses have been taken by digital platforms, even banks and the likes, right? So you also see companies like IBM that started the PC revolution where getting out of PC, Dell getting out of PC, Microsoft getting out of software into gaming and AI. Why? Because you can't build a business that is bigger than the industry, than the size of the industry. And so when an industry is shrinking, you want to get out of that industry very, very quickly. And this is very important because, in this part of the world, Nigeria, we have what I consider sort of like a calling approach to business. A calling approach. So somebody starts a business, is fixing, Datsun cars, and says that's what God has called him to do, and doesn't, expand to fix other types of cars, doesn't expand to, improve capacity, and dies off as the Datsun dies off, right? So you want to realize that as a business, you want to follow the data and say what is happening, and how how to what's expanding is that you have to study the population of a country and the dynamics. So I'll give you an instance, right? The Nigerian population is going to hit 450 million by 2050. It means that we're giving birth to about 12, 13 to 12, 11 to 12 million babies every year. So it means that schools are going to be a big thing. Clothing for children is going to be a big thing. So you have to look at the industry. And that's why you also see sort of like a boom of the real estate industry. In fact, the real estate industry is sitting on about the 450 trillion naira opportunity, based on some calculation by some experts. So you want to be able to check: am I in an industry that is expanding, or am I in an industry that is shrinking? Right? If you're in an industry that is shrinking, guess what you need to do? You need to get the hell out of that industry. The second thing is you want to ask yourself, right? This thing that I am doing, can it become a unique product? Now, what is the unique? What does that mean? It means that can I move people from wanting my product category to wanting me? Right? Can I move people from wanting? So can I move people from wanting just to buy a phone to wanting to buy, let's say, an iPhone, for example? Can I move people from wanting to buy clothes to wanting to buy my brand, for example? A couple of us here in real estate, can I move people from just wanting to buy land from anybody to wanting to buy from me specifically? Right? It's very, very important, because the moment you can create some uniqueness, in perceptive uniqueness or actual uniqueness or actual value, then you have a real business. And let me give you a perfect example so that you understand that sometimes uniqueness is not, in trying to change the world. It's sometimes as easy as communication. So let me ask, most of us here know USSD code banking, right? Like *737 and the likes, right? Let me ask you this question. What bank started USSD code banking? What bank do you think started USSD code banking? Let's see your responses. What bank started USSD code banking? So somebody said GT. Union Bank, GT, most people. So most people would say GT. One minute. So most people will say GT. And if you say GT, you would be wrong. But there's a reason why you are saying GT, right? In fact, the first bank that actually started USSD code banking, none of us even got it right. It's actually First Bank, right? And when they started it on the back of the success of a company called Paga, who had figured out how to bank the unbanked, who had started sort of on the back of the success of a company in Kenya called M-Pesa. And so when First Bank sort of started it out, the thinking was that they were going to try and reach the unbanked, so market women and all that. So they would send their people to market women and all that. But the onboarding wasn't really as great. In fact, GT Bank was sort of like the third bank to get in. But when GT Bank came in, GT Bank sort of asked the question that we always sometimes get our clients to ask. Sometimes you shouldn't be talking directly to your client. You should be talking to who your client listens to. And so GT Bank decided that they should target the population of people between 16, right, and 25. And the best way to target those guys was through music. So I don't know if you remember the song, 737 song, right? As I'm even talking about it, it's ringing in somebody's head right now, right? 737, that kind of. So they got it out, and it became such a hit. It sort of revolutionized things. So what would happen is that a young child, maybe 15, 16, is in school, he'll call his mom or his dad or his uncle, please send me money. And I will say, no, I will send it to you maybe on Thursday when I can get to the bank. And I said, no. this is how you could do it. So now the person who has something to benefit from the arrangement is the one who is doing the education. So he would educate you well. So he gets his money, and then eventually his friend realizes it, and then we open a GT Bank account. And in fact, how many of us remember, if this ever happened to you, at some point, it was almost embarrassing. Between 2016 and 2019, it was almost embarrassing not to have a GT Bank account. How many of us remember that somebody would want to send you money, you would give them your account number, and then they would put it in, and then they'd be like, I can't find your account. You'd be like, no, it's it's a Wema Bank account. They'd be like, you don't have a GT Bank account? In fact, a lot of us open a GT Bank account just for the embarrassment of what it would feel like not to have a GT Bank account. How many of us are in that WhatsApp group, right? And that's how GT Bank took the money. In fact, in that year-end 2019, GT Bank actually hit $1 trillion in valuation. But then they dropped down a little bit, and then it became second to Zenith. But I think they're back at $1 trillion now. UBA is at $1 trillion, and the likes, right? So sometimes, uniqueness is not that you created a product out of thin air. Sometimes it's just that you communicated the product very differently. In fact, at the strategy factory, when we get to the market analysis and the likes, Malcolm X says GT Bank was the OP. Yeah, GT Bank was the OP in 2013, right? OP and PAMP of today, right? So we talk about how do you build uniqueness. The third thing is it in its time? Very important question, because I drew this diagram at the beginning when I was talking about whether your product is in a great market. So, but this question, is it in its time? There's such a thing as timing in business. Now, the reason why this is important, this is the best time to get into a business when it's huge and expanding. But sometimes some people get into a business at this point here. Now, when you get into a business at this point, the problem is that you have a little bit of time before the market gets the message. And this little bit of time is called education. Now, historically, a lot of businesses who had to educate the market don't make it when the market gets it. So we all know Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat, all this, TikTok, all these guys. What we might not remember, or maybe I've even forgotten, or maybe not know if you're not that old enough, is High Five, right? MySpace, right? Those guys who sort of laid the foundation and helped us understood, social networking. So many of us here might know YouTube, but what you might not know is Netscape. Netscape was the first video streaming platform, right? So many of us here might know Gmail. What many of us might not know is AOL, right? AOL was the first email service. Do you understand? So it's very, very important sometimes when you get into a business to ask whether it's in its time, because sometimes if it depends on how much money you have. If you have Steve Jobs kind of money, you can go into animation, like Pixar, and burn $7 billion for 6 years before you make your first money, right? But if you don't have that kind of money, sometimes you might need to take a look at that industry, keep an eye on the industry, take your money into another industry to generate funds while you keep your eye on that particular industry, right? Because if you come in too early, you might run out of money. And lastly, does it give you leverage, right? The business that you're doing, does it give you leverage? And you build it in such a way that it can get you freedom? Because the truth is that all of us in this room, we want to build business, but we really just want to build our business because it has the promise of giving us freedom. That's why we want to build the business, isn't it? So some people, they get into a business that has little to no promise to provide freedom, and it becomes a challenge, right? The business then entraps them, and they can't do much about it, right? So we figured out the second thing is that other people want or need. And here we're asking, how needed are your offers, right? So it's not so much of whether your product is expensive or cheap. It's really about whether you have been able to create necessity in people's minds. And one of the companies that has done this really well is Apple. How many of us here feel like there's a sense in which the average person who uses an iPhone or an Apple product act as if they made it in life? How many of us feel that way, right? The people that use iPhone around you, there's a way in which they carry themselves, as if they made it in life. How many of us feel that way? How many of us have noticed that? If you have not noticed that, you probably use an iPhone, right? Right? And the funny thing is that feeling was engineered. That feeling was engineered. It's not just like random, right? So let me give you an instance. Most of you don't know. If you watch a movie coming out of America, for example, an American movie, you would realize that the good guy or the rich guy in every movie is using an iPhone. The poor guy or the bad guy isn't using an iPhone. Did you notice? Apple's product placement game is like A plus, right? A plus. Apple's brand story captures the essence and feeling. Bros, Mr. Taiwo, I want to say something. Taiwo, this thing I just wrote now, do you know what it tells me? Is that you use an iPhone. Now, I use an iPhone. I've used an Apple product for the last 12, 13 years, since 2011. I've not had a different phone. But I can predict that Taiwo right now uses an iPhone. Do you use an iPhone, yes or no? Because the way you said it in such a romanticized way that it's only Apple users that can say that kind of thing. Exactly. See, I told you. Right? So the reality is that Apple has created, let me tell you a funny story about how this, a story that sort of brings this thing home, how people make an assumption. You meet people on the street, they just make an assumption about you because they think, you guys are at the same level. So I had this friend of mine who created, who does websites. This was in 2011, does websites, right? Does websites, 2011, but he used to do website for like 25K website, cheap website, that kind of thing. So I had this other friend who was like, and I just got back, top level lady rather, who then asked me to recommend somebody to do website for her. This was in Abuja. So I said, okay, I have this guy. So I set up a meeting. It was a Salamander Cafe. We sat down and I knew how much the guy charged. So I told the guy, I said, I'm going to get you to a meeting to talk about how good you are. I don't talk about the pricing, I handle the pricing. So he said, okay, because I knew that there was going to be a mismatch between what he charged and what she was looking to pay. So the guy gave a good account. In fact, let me tell you something that he told me after the meeting that he noticed before the meeting. So when he got into the meeting, he noticed that I was using an iPad. The lady was using an iPad. The lady brought out an iPad, and then he brought out his notepad. So the conversation then went on, and then he gave a great account of himself about how well he's going to do the website, blah, 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 blah. And so he got to sort of pricing, right? And so this lady was like, Ezekiel, I don't know if you can talk to your friend. This is a personal project. I don't really have the budget for this. That kind of thing that people tell you when they want to tell you that they're going to pay you stupid money. We've all been in that place. They tell you, it's all the village people in my village that is gathering to give me the money for this thing. So this lady is giving all this thing. And so my friend that charged 25K is already feeling dejected, like, like how now? And so the lady turns to him and said to me, I said, Ezekiel, please, can you help me ask? But I knew what was coming because I understand that her understanding of cheap is very different from his understanding of cheap. So the lady says, please, can you tell your friend if you could just manage 250,000 for the project? Because it's a personal project, like that. The guy said that it took God for him not to shout, right? So so my friend then says, yeah, we will manage, we'll manage the budget. It's a project, because you're a first-time client, we would also give you free 1-year maintenance. You just started to vomit all this. I had to pick you from under the chair. Say, bros, did they beg you collect money? Don't give out your blood now. So, and then it came to when they wanted to make the transfer. So he wrote down his account number on his notepad, tore out the piece of paper, gave it to her. And that was the first time she said, oh, I can see that you forgot your iPad at home. And it looked to her and said, yes, I forgot my iPad. She did a transfer of 150,000 naira. She left. The guy turned to me and said, bros, bros, bros. Which kind of something? How did she assume that I have an iPad that I forgot at home? And now I've told her that I forgot my iPad. Now I have to go and buy an iPad so that I can be true. Because you are going back to Lagos. I lived in Lagos at the time. This was a meeting in Abuja. And, I have to buy the iPad. Went, spent 80K, bought an iPad at the time. Don't forget, he does website for 25K. And someone just paid him 150K. He will buy 80K, still build 3 websites out of that, and still collect 100K balance, right? So the question is that what is your business doing to create such a gold standard in people's mind that people feel like they have to use your business? The third is at the price they are willing to pay, and this doesn't really speak about whether your product is expensive or cheap. It really speaks about whether you are talking to the right clients. Now, Abraham Maslow did something called, worked on something called the Maslow's hierarchy of needs. And he explained that people are different level, are different level in life based on their disposable income, right? So, perfect example. Imagine if you wanted to eat right now and you had, I don't know, 500 naira, right? You'll be here. You can eat, right? Enter one booker somewhere, you eat nice food. If you had like 1,005, you can still eat. Enter like Chicken Republic, you can refer your spirits in Chicken Republic, right? But maybe you had like maybe 12 to 15K. You can go to Ocean Baskets, Rhapsodies, you'll have a decent meal, right? Maybe you had like maybe 50K. You can go to, I don't know, Golden Gate, go to, Zen Garden, some really nice place you eat. Maybe if you had 400K, you can still eat the same one meal. Same one meal. In fact, there's a restaurant not in VI that I ate like that. And I went to one of my staff. We went to a meeting with a client. We ate, and by the time we checked the bill, it was 720,000. Well, thankfully, I wasn't the one paying, so Jesus Christ paid it all. Right? Right. So but the reality is that the person who is selling food at this level is not looking for the clients that wants to buy food at this level. The question is, the way you market, would you get the kind of client that you're looking for? I don't know if you get that. Would you get the kind of client that you're looking for, right? Fourth is in a way that satisfies the customer's needs and expectations. And here, it's really talking about what our customer experience is, right? So I tell people how you should know whether you're doing well with customer experience or not is if you check your client, if you keep data and you check your client list, and a lot of the people who buy from you are usually new clients all the time, and your product is such that people can reorder and restock and something. So it means that there's a problem. People are coming in through the front door, but they're leaving through the back door. And they usually are leaving because there's a problem with your customer service, right? With the customer experience of you. And it happens because we don't treat our customers well, right? So how well do you treat your customers, right? So one of the ways to judge this is, typically what happens is that we call the customer and it keeps going high until they pay. Our call to them plateaus at the point where they pay. And for most people, it drops. Our communication does not increase after they have paid, right? What we have is what I call a organizer mentality. So I'll tell you a funny story. So I had a training that I was facilitating at Golden Tulip. Some of us in Lagos might know Golden Tulip. So if you know Golden Tulip, if you're going to Golden Tulip, you're coming through that Apple Junction, the Apple Junction complex. Yeah, and then you drive through like a diamond estate, and then you get to Golden Tulip on the other side, right? So I went there, finished my session, and then I came out of the car, came out to my car and realized that one of my tires was down, like completely down. And so what I did was to find a organizer, you had to walk all the way to the road, like, past Golden Tulip, past Diamond Estate, get to the road. So I call this guy, I come back, he takes the tire with him, says he's going to fix it, he's going to bring it back. So he goes, in 20 minutes, I didn't see him, 30 minutes, I didn't see him, 45 minutes, I didn't see him. So I was a bit stop. So I go all the way out there. And as I get out there, I'm standing, I'm looking at the guy, he's doing everybody else's tire, left my tire on the place. And I went to me, I was like, what's the meaning of this? My tire, blah, blah, blah. He said, bros, no verse, no verse. As I brought your tire here, some other people wanted me to do their tire. I have to do their tire. Your own tire is secure, your money is secure, you're not going anywhere, you cannot leave your tire. And that's the attitude a lot of us have. You know, we think that when a client has bought from us, the money is secure. So we just go on to the next one, but we lose the opportunity to actually have great customer service so that we can keep people. And 5, so that the business brings in enough profit to make it worthwhile for the owner to continue operation. So the question here is, how profitable is your business? How profitable is your business? Why is this important? Because profits are the cost of the future. Profit is not about flexing, really. It's not. Profit is about making sure that the business has a future. Right? Profit is about making sure that the business has a future. So think about it this way. I mean, if you think about it, Microsoft and all of these companies, what's happening is that Microsoft now, to stay alive, has had to buy OpenAI. They bought Activision, that's a gaming company. It's profits that they used to make those acquisitions to stay alive. If they couldn't make this acquisition, guess what? Those businesses are gone. So every single business has to make profit, because every single profit secures the future of that business. And the reason why, this, our book, Mr. Phil Fuller, brought out something, an ideology that I think is really cool. He says, wealth is measured in time, not numbers. It doesn't matter how much money you have. What matters is how long that money can take you. So if you think about it this way, right? If you had 10 million naira in your business, or 100 million naira in your business, for example, and maybe we had another COVID type situation, and then you had bills to pay to the tune of 10 million naira a month, and no money was coming in, guess what? In 10 months, you'll be in trouble, right? That's the truth. So, but I want us to do a quick activity, very quick activity. It's going to take 10 minutes for this activity, and it's going to help us calculate our numbers and know how profitable your business is. But the reality is that most of us are not going to do this activity. Most of us, in the process of doing this activity, we're going to have maybe like high blood pressure, maybe even stroke. But if you finish this activity, it'll be the best thing that you've ever done this year. And I can guarantee that you make more money this year. So if you want to do this activity, here's what I want you to do. I want you to get a notepad or a piece of paper and a pen. Or you can, you're already using your phone for this. So get a piece of paper, get a pen. And when you get a piece of paper, get a pen, I want you to type ready in the chat box. Ready, just write ready in the chat box. And I know that you're ready for us, right? If I get 20, 30 people who say ready, we'll move on to the next one. It's going to take about 10 minutes, but it's going to be really, really, really important 10 minutes. Thank you, Christian. And Magic Christian. Magic Christian is ready. Who else is ready? Who else is ready for us? Taiwo is ready. Sarah is ready. Joe is ready. All right. Tobiloba is ready. Tony Chidima is ready. That's a very interesting combination of names. I'd like to meet you in person. Real estate ambassador. Oh, how are you doing? She's ready. Kuforiji is ready. Nurudin is ready. Good. Now, this activity is helping you find out how much money you spend in a month. I know you think you know, but if you give me 10 minutes, we'll figure out together. And whether your business can afford you, right? So I'm going to turn on to the next page. Now, don't write anything. I'm going to explain every single thing myself. So the first thing I want you to write is, most of us here pay money for rent, right? We have rent fee. Now, your rent is usually annually. So I want you to take the figure and divide it by 12, right? So if you take, so let's say your rent is, 1 million divided by 12. And what I want you to write is the monthly figure. So once you've done, I want you to write rent done, right? So take the annual figure, divide it by 12, note down the monthly figure, and come to the comment section, the chat section here, and write rent done. Not done, rent done, so that I know that you're done. Rent done, that tells me. Now, if you don't pay rent, you live in your own house, and you don't pay mortgage in that house, you're free. This is not an expense for you, and that's fine, right? Good. Let me see like 10 people say rent done, and we'll move on to the next one. Now, I'm doing that because I need to know how many of you will follow me to the end, because most of you will have like heart attack, blood pressure, you know. But those of you that finish up, we'll see at the end. Great. Joyce, Oluwaseun, Christian. Okay, beautiful. That's great. You don't pay rent, you don't pay mortgage. That's great. Just write. So just write rent done, Christian. So the next thing is transportation, right? So transportation for most people, I mean, depending on how you move around. Some of us have cars. And so, for example, it used to cost me for one of our cars, the one I actively use, it used to cost me about 40,000 a month. In the old dispensation, now that our hope is renewed, it costs me about 160,000 a month, about 40,000 a week to fuel the car. So whatever that number is, I want you to write TP done. So if you fuel the car. If you don't have a car and you sort of use the bus, there's usually a daily budget, so you multiply that by 30. It's usually a daily budget, or if you use Ubers and all that. So, but once you're done, I want you to write TP done. TP done tells me that you've done this particular activity, this particular one, TP done. So let me see how many people get to TP done. That is still with me. Tony Chidima is still with me. This is Taiwo is still with us. Thank you, sir. Oluwaseun is still with us. Okay, great. Next is utilities. So under utilities, there are sort of different things. Under utilities, most of us here have light bill that you pay, whatever that light bill is, whoever you pay to, IKEDC, EKEDC, whatever EDC. Most of us here have some form of estate dues. So you live in maybe a gated environment. You could write down your costs for, security cost or service charge, whatever. Most of us have some form of cable TV, DSTV, Go TV, High TV, Low TV, Prime, whatever it is, Hulu, whatever it is. Most of us also have maybe like a budget for fueling our car, generator. So you fuel your gen or, what have you, right? So once you're done with the utilities, I want you to write UT done. So that tells me that you're done with the utilities. And of course, any other utility that you think is notable that I haven't mentioned. Okay, great. So some of us are still with me. That's good. That's really good. So next is feeding cost. Now, feeding cost is not food stuff in your house or in your house. No, this is not food stuff in your house. This is for those of us that don't work from home and there's somewhere close to your office that you buy food from. It's usually a small budget, maybe 10,000 or 2,000 or 500, depending on what your level is, right? But there are 25 working days in 25 working days in a month, and that's like whatever it is times 25, right? Now, for those of us that work from home, and you don't buy food, this doesn't apply to you. So when you're done with that, I want you to write FD done. So that tells me you're done with food. Good. Thank you, Mr. Shegun. Saw your message. Next is, so groceries is like the food stuff in your house. It's usually a big budget. If you're married, you have kids, it's probably the third largest budget of your house, maybe behind school fees and house rent, perhaps, right? So once you figure out toiletries, food stuff, every single thing. So you write GT done. So GT done means you're done with that one, right? So let's see who is done, right? GT done. Good, good, good. Sounds good. Sounds really good. Good. GC done, sorry, not GT, GC, groceries, GC, sorry. Someone corrected me. Good. Next is school fees. So school fees is sort of tricky. If your kids are not yet in university, so you pay school fees 3 times a year. So there's usually like term 1, plus term 2, plus term 3, and then you multiply. That becomes your total, and then divide that by 12. That tells us what the school fees is. So you can then do SF done. Right now, don't forget that this has to happen for all the kids. There's no buy one, get one free school. And if, of course, your kids are in a university, it's an annual fee, you know what it is, divided by 12. Why are we dividing things by 12? Because most of us calculate our revenue in our businesses on a monthly basis. It makes a lot of sense to denominate our expenses to monthlies, right? So how many of us have gotten to school fees? SF, okay, cool. Let me see how many of us will get there. How many of us have gotten there, rather? Good. Anybody else? Or have we given up? Are we having heart attacks? Anybody else? I want to see a few people. Okay, good. Next is personal expense. So personal expense is how much you spend on yourself. It's usually not a lot of money, right? Maybe you are actually a big gang, all those things that you usually would buy. Personal expenses, that kind of expense, that kind of expense, personal expense. PE done. So how many of us are done with personal expenses? Usually not a lot of money. Most entrepreneurs they don't really spend as much money on themselves like that. It's usually not that deep for us, right? So many of us are done. Personal expense. Good. I can see that a lot of us have given up. If you're still with us, just continue. Next is childcare expense. So buying gadgets is like personal expense, isn't it? Personal expense, So what is that? How many gadgets would you buy on the average? Next is childcare expense. So that's C done. Childcare expense is any amount that you spend on your child that is not school fees. Like for example, swimming classes, all these extracurricular classes and the likes that we usually would register our kids for. They're not technically school fees, but they're things that we spend on our kids, right? Next is communication. So communications is airtime data. So right, comms done. How much do you spend on airtime? How much do you spend on data? Good. Next is giving. I know we all think that our giving is sort of like spontaneous, but the reality is that there's a sense of planning in it. There are some of us, you give to your parents, you give to your siblings, you give urgent 2K to a few of your friends. And if you don't plan your giving, you should. So giving done. So whatever that is in a month for you. Now, other expense is anything that I have not said, like maybe you travel every year somewhere, all those kind of stuff. Anything that I haven't mentioned, you have a driver, you have a nanny, all that kind of stuff. Anything I haven't mentioned, once you finish the other expense, I want you to write all done. So that tells me you made it to the end. Right? All done. Good. So let's see how many made it to the end. And then we have I ask you 2 questions, and then we'll call it an evening. 2 questions, and I have a few explanations, and I'll maybe give you some information about the strategy factory. Good. So if it's all done, I want you to add it all together. So what you're adding is the monthly figure so that you can see exactly how much. Many of us might not have seen it this way because they don't sort of show up at the same time. But if you put it all together, you would see what your monthly figure is on a month-to-month basis. So I want you to add it all up. And then I want you to put an emoji that describes how you feel when you added it all up. I'll give you 1 minute or 2 minutes. Some of you might need a calculator because some of us are big men. Most of us are big men and women, by the way. I'm waiting. Add it all up. Make sure you add it all up. That tells us. No, savings was not included now because savings is not an expense now. Savings is the savings. In fact, some of you might even realize why you don't have savings. Oh, Lord. Well, we asked you, Joe Eze, we asked you to denominate all of them monthly, right? So if you follow the activity, you should have all of that. No, staff salaries are for the office. We've not even asked you to do the one for the office. When you come to the strategy factory, we can even try that. Right? I'm just talking about what your personal expense is on the business. So now, in this vein now, I want to ask you 2 questions, right? Somebody said Jason is in heaven. So the first question is, if that's your personal expense, like your own personal expense burden on the business, can your business pay you? If your business was your like only source of income and it wasn't your side hustle, your business, is your business paying you that amount of money right now? Because that's your personal burden on the business, right? Can your business pay you that amount of money? We shall be duper. How many of us can tell me that your business can pay you this amount of money? That you just wrote. Rather. Sorry. Yes or no? Yes or no? Are we in shock that we cannot answer, or are we answering? And I've not seen the answer. Okay, good. The business can pay you. That's good. Hello, welcome to the Real Estate Mega Sales channel. Good. Now, and so if your business can pay you, the next time you go to church and your pastor says you should pray against Kankamam and Pamawam, just don't pray because you and the Kamawam, I say Kamawam, Pamawam, Kamawam, Bubuwam, all of you are collaborating in collaboration with the Kamawam and the Pamawam. But the question that I think is very important here that all of us need to start to think about is how big does your business need to get to be able to pay 20 people that work for you that amount of money you just wrote down? You see, if you run a business, you have 1 staff, 2 staffs, 3 staffs, no staff. If anybody works for you, the reality is that that person, at the very least, you inspire that person and they would love, perhaps in the future, to have a life identical to yours. Now, while I'm not asking anybody to dash anybody money, I'm just saying that if somebody in your office right now decide that they wanted to work really, really hard and they want it to be extremely valuable to the company, is there a path? Is there a path in your company where they could earn the kind of money you just wrote down that you spend every month? And are you on your way to building such a business? And this is very critical because it's the reason why most small businesses don't keep staff, because we see them as furniture, right? Useful, not ambitious, right? And so we don't build a business that can represent the dream of our staff. And then it turns out that they work with us until they have better opportunities, right? Then they leave. But what if we can build our businesses? In fact, some of us in this room, if ExxonMobil calls you now and say, come and be our CFO, you will you shut down your business and go there. Then you lie to all of us that, you know what, I need to go to ExxonMobil and go and raise capital. You say, you're not coming back. You're not coming back. Yeah. It's gone. You're not coming back, you know, for most of us, not all of us. But the idea here, how many of us would love a situation where we could build a business and we could have staff members that we paid this kind of money? If you want to be in that situation, I want you to type yes. How many of us would like to have, staff members who could pay like this kind of money? Good. Just side note, Bisola, please get through to John and just work with him on how to use those audios and the likes. He has to send the audios as audios and not send it in a link format, because I don't understand what is posted in the group, right? Okay, good. Now, if you want to be in that category, sorry for that side note, I was sending a message to somebody on my team. If you want to be in that category, those are the kinds of people that we're looking for at the Strategy Factory, right? Those are the kind of people we're looking for Strategy Factory. People that they want to build a big business. They want to be able to get their business to the point where people that work for them can access the kind of life that they live and more. For those types of people, and not a lot of them, there's not a lot of them in the world. But if you're one of those people, you're the people that we are now inviting to the Strategy Factory. So Strategy Factory is on Friday, and it's a 10-hour class, 10 to 12-hour class. And we cover quite a number of topics. In fact, this is sort of like, we just updated it this December. So in Strategy Factory now, we're adding things like talking about corporate strategy, business strategy, functional strategy. We're adding things like BCG metrics, a lot of things that sort of will help you figure out your business a lot more better. So like I mentioned, this is just the first module. There are 9 other modules where we talk about strategy, we talk about people, process, and controls, we talk about market analysis, we talk about, business networking, and the likes. So, and we sort of cover about 35 different topics over a 10 to 12-hour period. And usually it's always fun too. So it's always a very fun experience. It's never a dull moment. You would enjoy every single minute of your time at the Strategy Factory workshop. And so the Strategy Factory is this Friday. Actually, registration has closed already. So those of you that would want to be in this class would have to make commitment to the class on or before Tuesday. On or before Tuesday, yes. It was supposed to be Monday, but somebody asked that we increase it to Tuesday. In fact, the person is on this call rather. Mr. Thompson, I think. Yes, I saw him at some point. Maybe, yeah. So on Tuesday, right? And so what I could do is I could ask Bola. Bola's the person that you would call. Now, if you are in that category, you want to attend the Strategy Factory, you think it's going to be important for you, you could do us a favor right now and maybe just type in just your name and your number so that somebody on my team can pick up the number right now and call you and send you details tonight. So if you're in that category, please type your name, type your number, or send a text to this number. send a text to this number and just let us know that you sent the text. So you send a text to this number and then come here and type send. Some of us don't want to put our numbers out there publicly, and it's okay. So send a text to that number and come here and type send so that Bola on the team can match the name to the face, right? Here on the call. So again, for those who pay, it's a full day session, actually a 2-day session, but the first day is, yes. I'm gonna, if you get through to, if you send that text right now, yes, there is certificates. If you send that text right now, Bola is gonna offer you a discount. It could be as high as 30,000 naira off that price right now. If you send that text right now. If you send that text right now. So if you send it, just let her know that you sent the text. You get, of course, it's a full class. You get your tea break, lunch, the entire thing. But you also get access to the community. We have a Strategy Factory community that is vibrant. So far, we've seen over 5 billion naira transacted within the community already. We have, and there's a lot of, and not only just within people, between us and the community. So, for example, for those of us that might know, we held the largest business strategy conference in the country at the Eco Convention Center, spent about 160 million. And all of the money, aside from the money that went to Eco Hotel, was spent inside of our community. So the person who did the what do they call that thing now? The person who did the souvenirs was from the community, the person who did the manuals, the person who put in the magazine, the person who did the branding, every single thing was sourced within the community. So close to about 60 million thereabouts was sort of like trust back into the community. So that was cool, right? Good. So and then you also get an additional meeting with the consulting team. Some people would be able to join virtually, and so they get added meetings, an additional meeting because they're not coming in person. They get the same price, and they get the additional meeting. They get 2 meetings, and they can join virtually. It's a hybrid meeting, so you can join the meeting, participate in the entire class throughout the entire day. So, so you pay. For those who pay, we give an additional class at some point in the week. So looking forward to seeing you there. So how many of us will be coming for the Strategy Factory on Friday? How many of us? If you're going to be coming for Strategy Factory on Friday, I want you to type yes. And by the way, I can take questions. We have 5 more minutes. I can take questions. So while you're sending the text messages and the likes, that's okay. Let us know if you'll be making it to Strategy Factory. And if you're not, that'd be amazing. It's also amazing, right? Good. So Taiwo says he's going to be making it. Thank you so much. I hope you sent a text message to Bola right now so that she could sort of document your, get the details across to you immediately. Who else is going to be making it? And who has a question? Anybody wants to ask? Because some people asked some questions earlier. Yes, there is a discount. Yes, if you get through to Bola, you get a discount. There's a certificate at the end of work. Yes, we offer certificate on request. So you request for it, you get it sent to your email. Joe Ace says, I'm aware of the convention, though I couldn't make it. Oh, don't worry, probably make it for the next one. Right? Any other person? Okay, any other question? We have 2 more minutes. In 2 minutes, we'll call it an evening. First, I wanted to thank you all. Taking an hour, 20 minutes of your time is, I don't take that lightly. Many of us have 1,000,001 things that we could be doing right now with our lives, with our time, but we decided to join us here this evening. For that, I wanted to say thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you for interacting with our ads. Thank you for interacting with our posts. Thank you for interacting with Bola over the last couple of days. Thank you for joining this meeting, and thank you especially to those of us is there another class in Lagos this weekend? Just get through to Bola, she'll give you that detail. Tony, get through to Bola, she'll give you the detail on that, right? So So first things first, or rather last things last. Thank you so much. Any other question? I'll wait for 1 more minute. Any other question? And I would be able to answer it. Okay, so having said that, thank you so much for your time. For those of us who dropped our number earlier, or yeah, you get access to the recording. I'll probably send it later tonight or tomorrow morning. Okay, Bola, please take a screenshot of Taiwo's number. You get the recording tomorrow or tonight, depending on how fast Zoom sends it to us. And then we would work towards seeing you guys on Friday, right? Thank you. Thank you so much. Thanks again for your time. Looking forward to seeing those of us that are going to make it on Friday. Bye-bye.